Hello, beloveds. Welcome to our class number 2, module 5, the ideal model. Super, super, super powerful module that I'm really super excited to continue to put together and be able to share with all of you. And yeah, we're just chatting up a little bit about the body system and just checking in, doing a check-in to see how everybody is with their body, whether they're checking in, whether you're not checking in, and kind of breathing life back into the body.
Connection.
Yeah, into connection, exactly. Yeah. So that we can all in the group, those that are playing along with us, can finish together in the best and highest possible way for us to celebrate at the end our celebration of self-retreat.
Yep, for sure. You know what's coming up is like through this solstice season right now is like how if I have, my fire stoked within and my buddy or anybody on the call that's a part of the group with me is having a little bit of a, the fire's not so bright or there's a little bit of a challenge there, what it is to actually be a support for one another. So just inviting into that. We're all sitting around this campfire of the alchemy of self group number 1, and it's really up to me if it's to be. So we get to, if we can stand in that, if it's to be, it's up to me-ness and bring that. This is a super exciting time to do so. And that's for me too, bringing the excitement, bringing this like, let's go energy. We've spent so much time over the last several modules working inward. And now there's an opportunity to start working as the expression that wants to emerge, and that's perfect timing with the summer and the sun and the solstice and the fire and the central sun and the masculine energies and the feminine energies at the same time, because we still have the cycles, right? We still have the day and the night. There's still all the elements and there's still the water and all the things, but this is an opportunity to really tune in to anything that you really fucking want to have happen in your life from and with the awarenesses of, oh, there's that part of me again. This is the opportunity to be able to bring that into a container and stoke the fire of your creation that wants to manifest itself. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of you that are taking big steps forward in life. There's a lot of changes that are happening for many people. There's a lot of future changes that I know that are happening for a lot of people that we're super excited about. And we're grateful to be a part of it all with you. And there's that deep heart's desire of what wants to birth forth, even if it's already here, but it's just like, I need clarity and I need these different resources, whatever that is, this is an opportunity to do so. And for those who are not on the call and watching the replay, I hope that this lands for you as well. We're also going to be getting into the time, we haven't discussed this previously, so you can pull me back if I need to, but it's coming into our next check-in call with the group. And I know a few of you have reached out and we just couldn't get ourselves quite to sync up. You know who you are, we love you, and we thank you for your patience, and we'll be getting into that. Claudia and I will tune in and reach out, especially through this time of like creation moving forward, yeah?
Yes. So let's get centered so we can get started with our class.
Centered. Who's ready to get centered? Who's already centered? Who thinks they're already centered but doesn't even know what part of themselves is saying that they're centered until they are or not.
Nice.
All right. Fraser's like, all 5 of us are centered. All 5 of Fraser. So, bringing joy and lightness into this space, we're getting a little bit of a happy face.
Share the music.
I will absolutely do so. So giving ourselves a moment to tune in here. And I'm going to share my screen with some music. All right. Make sure that this guy's on the repeat.
Number 1. It has a number 1 on it. There you go.
Oh, cool. Still learning these things. So Let us all take a big, giant inhale together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And a gentle sigh. One more big inhale in, super oxygenating into all of our cells. And gentle like a feather. And one more gentle inhale. And exhale with a sigh. So now, allowing ourselves to begin to arrive fully here into this space and this moment. Notice if there's still the residue of your fingers typing and your eyes looking at screens and all that, and just find relaxation in your hands and in your fingers. Relaxation in your eyes and your eyelids. Anywhere that you're holding yourself up, just let yourself melt a little more. Melt into your perfect posture. Any idea of how you need to be or you should be or what your body's doing or any of that stuff, just gently let that be there and arriving here in this moment fully. And feel the weight of our body as we sink in and settle into this moment, into this place. Feel our glutes sitting on the surface we're sitting on. Feel our shoulders dropped away from our ears. There's nothing else but the breath here in this moment, and as you just focus on your inhale and your exhale for a few breaths. And as you focus on your breath with each exhale, just notice if you can just let anything go that needs to be let go to be here now. And now let's bring our awareness to our feet. Take a deep breath in to our feet. And as we exhale out of our feet, notice if you visualize gentle roots extending from the soles of your feet deep into the earth. These roots may be thin little roots. These roots may be big like a trunk, going down into the waters of the earth, through the soil, through the stone, and through the crystal layers. And you reach a point where you find solidity or solid structure, and let this solidity in our roots merge and finding nourishment of the earth holding you, anchoring a space where we're safe and where we're rooted and where we belong. And now, in this anchored space of here and now, bring your awareness gently to your inner space. The inner space of you, your body, your temple. And notice any thoughts or emotions or sensations that are present in your body, in your temple, in your inner universe. without any judgment or labeling, just notice them.
And as you just become present to your inner landscape, observing, accepting, repeat silently to yourself, I have a body, but I am not my body. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I am the loving observer. The one who chooses, the one who wills, and the one who witnesses. Now feel yourself resting in that center. Feel the still point, the calm presence at the core of your being. And now from this center, bring your awareness to your heart. And breathe into your heart space. Let it soften. Let it open. Let it radiate. And from this space, call forth your intention. You can repeat silently after me. May I open to the truest vision of who I am becoming. May I receive my ideal model, not from ego or fantasy, but from the soul. I am ready to remember who I truly am. And take one final deep breath, allowing that truth, that intention to sink in your being. Let that intention integrate and be grounded in your body. And then very gently, whenever you are ready, you may come back to our space, to our class, and open your eyes. Mm. Welcome back.
Welcome back, and look who showed up while we were all dropped into that quantum field. Miss Masha Nova,
Masha
Quantum Leap
Nova.
creator in the house.
Welcome, welcome.
Nice.
Thank you for joining us.
How was that for everyone?
Yep.
Thumbs up.
We are opening up to what's to come.
Yeah. It's so interesting how the disidentification can have the same words and feel completely different each and every time, with a little bit of a different opening and continued reinforcement of the basics of the work, if you will.
Yes.
Who is practicing
Claudia.
disidentification on a daily or weekly or at all? A little show of hands. Nice.
Yep.
Good job,
Much as
Mr.
possible.
Brackman. Claudia has raised her
Yes.
hand. There must be something burning and desire to share.
Yes. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Thank you. So have you known I had been traveling for the last 13 days, 14 days. And in the process, a lot of the integration that it was not only that, the deepen connection and to know each other, but it was mostly integrate my own self and my past relationships and my actual relationships and my culture and my, like the culture that I was born into it. Because now this is my culture, right? So, and it fascinating to really, this beautiful disidentification process of like, who am I? I am not that culture. I am not that family. I am not my parents. I am not my friends. I am not the society. I am none of that. So when I was in the bottom of that in this 14 days of like, who am I? I'm all of it. I'm none and I'm all of it at the same time. Because then when I say this, I have the capacity to understand where everybody's coming from, to have the pure compassion of like where I have been and where people are or where they have been without anything to say about anything. It's just like the pure of like, we're playing a game in this life. We're playing a role in any time, all the time. And then if I don't get attached to that, then life is peaceful. It is completely neutral. It is. And then of course the natural process, like the being with the spaces, the natural, like the waters and the mountains and the roads and how, and a little bit of responses or reactions in the way, right? And going in the spaces and different people that we visit or people that we, knew that was part of like the process is, it's just like so amazing. Like what really feeling the embodiment and how it feels, instead that I have the concept for all these years, I have the concept, but I haven't been able to embody that concept. Because until you really like, wow, like this is all about, it's just like to integrate and embodying how it feels, how peaceful and how neutral that can be. So that's what I wanted to share.
Well, amazing.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the integration, right? The embodiment, because there's a huge, right, gap between concept and embodiment. And so I can really feel it, yeah, as you are being able to welcome all aspects of you, right? All the culture and it really opens up the space for us to be more forgiving, more compassionate, right? Again, more loving, more accepting of all of our experiences and where everybody's at. So thank you for sharing. Really, I can feel it in your energy, right? That integration and that embodiment. Celebrating that.
Yeah, celebrating the, the beginner's mind, the new room, that the catalyst, whatever the catalysts are, that came together exactly when they were supposed to create this new awareness. And with that understanding too, that we fucking know nothing. Because tomorrow there's a new, oh, I thought I had that one figured out. It was still concept. It's even more embodied, you know what I mean? Like, to just keep on being humble as we walk forward and receive these new, everything that comes together to this like minuscule boop, right? Oh my God, everything just changed, but nothing changed, those type of things. So yeah, really exciting for you. Really exciting. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you for that share. Thank you.
Yeah, nature has a good way of bringing its own medicine, for sure.
Yes, it does. Any other shares? Anybody else have something that you would like to share
Yeah.
into
Since
our
we're in the
container
sharing
today?
mode, maybe this little kitten
Oh,
wants
look
to
at
share
that kitty.
something.
Look at that kitty.
Come on.
Yeah, I thought since he was tired in the crate, I could like just have him sit with me, but he's a little rambunctious, so we'll see how long it lasts. This kitten is for adoption if anybody's feeling like they
Aw,
want a little snuggly, beautiful, wonderful boy cat.
boy kitty,
Oh my
Boy kid,
goodness.
so cute.
a boycott.
We
That
calling him
is
Garfield. That's our shares. We're calling him Garfield. He's super sweet.
Oh, hello,
Oh,
Garfield.
goodness, she's so
Welcome.
cute.
Have a feeling you might not be adopted. I thought you were allergic to cats.
I am, but somebody told me that people that are allergic to cats usually aren't allergic to kittens. And so I've just taken that as truth and running with it, and it seems to be working.
Okay, then.
There you go.
Because I guess there's
Psychosomatic.
something when they become adults that happens to the dander that they produce. So
Okay.
Well, that's just dandy.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Marmalade kitty. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Tasnova
Yes,
raised her hand up in
Tasnova.
the air like she just don't care. What? Go for it.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
I was thinking to share this, and then Claudia's share kind of reminded me because I forgot for a second. So I just wanted to share kind of in the aspect of the culture part. Last class I shared about I think it was last class, about like a feeling of stress with my family. And I've been like really sitting with how I spoke about it and what both of you had said. The compassion element, and also just remembering the reality and giving myself compassion. And it led to an opportunity for me to, on my free will, like give them a call and having like a great 2-hour conversation, and to just like approaching it from a very different place. Um, Before that, I was like contemplating on it and sitting with, like what their reality really is like and what it feels like. And then um looking at it from a place of not feeling like I'm responsible for their experiences, but just like it is this way and this is how it is for me. And like just being open to a synthesis, I guess, in a way, in our relationship. And I felt like it came through when I gave him a call. There was still a little bit of like guilt trip, but I could feel, just their deep desire for connection. There was like a little bit of, I don't know the other word for it, but there's like a lot of those things that just really I had a strong reaction to before. And I could just kind of see it for what it is. And I noticed just taking some time to ground and, yeah, I guess like the disidentification, like Claudia was saying, of those parts of me. Because it was right that like I noticed in hindsight that the reaction was coming from the part of me that was very identified with culture, very identified with a granddaughter, my mom's daughter, this, that. But once I like took time, I felt like compassion was kind of like a neutralizer. It allowed me to actually be present, and them too, in a way, like invitation for them to be present. And we had a really great connection. I realized that they just really want to connect, and they are willing to meet me where I'm at. And because I'm more aware, in a way, that is my responsibility, that I can, redirect it. But yeah, it was a really amazing It was an amazing breakthrough. So I wanted to share that it's yeah, just that experience with family disidentification is creating this like new pathway for me to connect with myself differently. I didn't realize how big of a identification process I had with culture. Like still, it was kind of sneaky. So excited to continue it and to continue experiencing the changes.
Amazing.
Yes, love shower. Wow, celebrating that. That is huge, right? When we're talking about cultures and being able to create a shift and an opening in a new way to a culture that has just been replicating and continue to pass down the same ways of being is huge. So
Yeah.
really, really feeling the expansion of that opening for you and your family. And again, right, that's the power of the disidentification, right? The power of not attaching to any specific way or outcome, ways of being, or anything like that. Just really, really amazing. Great work. Yeah,
For
it's so
sure.
huge.
And even the word as you share that and as Claudia shared culture, like, wouldn't we be in a culture also right now? So I'm just giving thanks to your share and to Claudia's share because a culture for me is like an aligned set of ideas, ideals, principles, ways of being, all these type of, like, you use the word responsibility. And in a lot of transformational training, we how do we make a culture we align to when I say this word, it means this. And those who like that word and they also say that word and they like what it means, we all get to hang out and we've created a culture. And so when I use the word responsibility, it's like, oh, fuck, it's my responsibility. Ay. Or the ability to respond. And coming from accountability of being able to take account of you've done some work and you've got some tools. Now you have an ability to respond from a different place than that other culture, but it's not like separate in and of itself. So I just, as that comes up, like imagine a culture where everyone in that culture understood what disidentification meant as a distinction or subpersonalities and all the things, how that feels. And being able to, I'm hearing you, and also didn't necessarily hear it from Claudia, but the overflow of bringing this work into a culture that you were born into and how big of a ripple effect that could possibly have, even if it's just one conversation that a little light gets lit in. It's so like, thank you for doing the work. Yeah.
Yes.
Really amazing, especially like when you get into that area of the world, the cultures are very, and Latin America. I mean, we went down to a restaurant this weekend for Father's Day with Claudia's dad to celebrate him, and it's very thick culture. And if I stood in the middle of the room, let's, hey, everybody, let's do disidentification meditation, I would have probably gotten shot at. I don't know, but, or something thrown at me. But I mean, it just that little gem that gets put into the space, like just to not give up on that. And also noticing our own identifications. This is
Yes.
deep, beautiful awareness takes us out. That's why we have always done it with no judgment. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a certain
Amazing work.
office space I'm working in that whenever they say, well, that's the way we've always done it, that's like a 4-letter word in that office space. But meanwhile, the owner's like, but that's how we've always done it. I'm like, Mr. Culture Creator. If it's up to be, it's up to me. So yeah, so beautiful to play in this realm of unlocking. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your share.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I was actually going to pick on Sean because he mentioned he had something pretty cool happening this coming weekend, but we're just going to let him hang out in the woods with the sun, and he'll share if he wants to.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's get started. In our last class, the ideal model, we introduced the ideal model. We really opened the gateway for that fourth core concept of psychosynthesis. And that is very soon going to become your best friend. You're going to love it. And we talked about how, what it means to craft an authentic vision that's not coming from the ego, that is not fantasy, right? But it is a soul-aligned image, right? That is rooted in will, in imagination, and also in presence. It's essentially, as you'll discovered, once you have an experience of your ideal model, is going to become your compass. It's going to be your North Star that's going to guide you, guide your path, guide your life, guide you to activate the inner resources within you to be able to bring that vision into reality. So it's super, super exciting. So last class, we started going through the ideal model. We didn't get to finish all of it, so we're going to pick right up today. And my original idea was to dive through the exercise on this class, but then as I'm preparing for the class, I realized it's better to get all the theory out of the way, make sure that everybody is fully aligned and understanding what the ideal model is and what the ideal model is not. And we're going to dive in on class number 3, which is going to be July 7th. So please block that in your calendar. That is going to be a very, very deep practice. We're going to really go deep. Experiential. And so we're going to dedicate our whole class to going through that practice. So today, we're going to continue going through the rest of the ideal model, so that you fully grasp it and understand it. And at the end, we're going to guide you through a meditation where you'll get the first opportunity to connect to your ideal model. Okay, you'll have that first opportunity to tune in to what comes through. Now, on our next class, which will be in 2 weeks from now, it is going to be where we are going to go back and basically go through all of our false models, and we're going to be dismantling each of the false models. So it is super important. I'm getting chills as I'm talking about it. It's going to be a very profound class. So my recommendation is make sure that you are in a place where you can bring your full attention. Make sure you're not driving. Make sure you just save that date, because doing it together in this container is going to be very, very powerful. So please save the date for that. And once we have essentially dismantled all the false ideals, the false models, then we'll have an opportunity to tap into your ideal model again. But this time from nothing, right? This time from that complete openness, and having dismantled the false. So it's really exciting. And as I've shared, the ideal model is going to be your compass, right? This is your guiding light. This is going to be your lighthouse, to guide you to create a life of your dreams, because ultimately that's what we all want, right? We all want to live the life that we want. And so really exciting. I will be sharing, there's a few items we're going to need for class, and I'll share that ahead of time so that you can come prepared. Do not disturb, like really give yourself that opportunity to dive in.
Yeah, I mean, we already have the kind of agreement and alignment to bring our presence onto the calls, but in this particular time, there's a really good opportunity. And this isn't really within the psychosynthesis framework, but it is something that is in the field right now. So we're not getting into like false models right now in this particular case, but when we can tune into ourselves in these types of meditations and think of the ideal model, I could ask for everybody to show their hand, but I know that everybody's hand would most likely go up if we've made a choice from a part of ourselves thinking that that's what we needed to create, but that was a separate and apart part of self prior to like doing subpersonality work, and then we get to ride out that karma, whether it's a relationship or a business thing or a decision about health or all these things. We've also tuned into a couple classes ago what our values. So there's like those values and there's our wholeness. And so choosing from wholeness and alignment with values when we choose from something less than wholeness, from I need to be loved, so I'm choosing this relationship so that I am loved, distinct from I am loving and I am a loving person, those two relationships can show up completely different. Or I feel justified in this relationship or in this place of work and whatever, so I say yes to this, even though I'm getting a little bit of a no, and then there's that, you know, kind of riding that out. So that's where this class is coming up is really juicy when it comes to finding the alignment to self and what really wants to emerge. And then we get to bring in all of the tools that we have thus far, the subpersonality work, the disidentification, and all that as we're moving towards that vision in the next modules coming up, and be able to talk to those parts of ourselves along the way that still want to tug at our pants and say, yeah, but you're doing something different than you normally do, but I want to keep you safe. All those kind of things, we get to continue working on that.
Yeah, exactly. And as I have mentioned in a past class, expect those aspects of you
To get louder.
to show up,
Yeah.
right? Especially when you're connecting to an ideal. So this is, again, going to be a great opportunity to keep connecting with, to keep clearing, to keep integrating those subpersonalities as they show up, right? Maybe wanting to sabotage your vision for what you want to create.
And just a little seed, like this is a great opportunity in that process to reach out to someone you feel safe, whether it's your buddy or not, if and when things are coming up. Just as a reminder, as a reflection, as an ear to listen, you know, for nothing else. And that might be that your partner at home, you know, whatever that is for you, but just to, sometimes it's good just to express that, you know, through this process. Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to share my screen as I always do.
Scabba-dabba-doo, scabba-dabba-dee. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge Masha, who hopped on the call, even though she's at the Grand Canyon with her mom right now. Hopefully you're okay that I shared that.
goodness, is
But
she?
like, that's what's up.
Nice.
That's what's, oh, what the fuck, do whatever it
commitment right
takes
there.
energy.
Beautiful. So the ideal model is going to become your blueprint, your authentic self blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just showing the classes so that you know. Monday, July 7th.
Yeah, and there's a little bit in the
underscore
chat,
it.
you know, getting clear on, yes, there is a 2-week break. Believe us, if we could jump right into this, if we didn't have these other things going over the weekend, we would. But then, you know, we'll be putting some stuff in there in the chat for you to be able to kind of get tuned
ready.
in, you know. So there's some opportunities to journal, to give some time practicing the meditation that we're going to practice today, and also connecting with your buds.
And that was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to maybe do that exercise today, as not to wait, but really need to honor the process.
Yeah.
And even give you the heads up so that you can be fully prepared for the 7th. We're traveling, so we're not going to be in town, just not able to hop on a call. And but I think after this, because I already did the whole calendar for the year,
Yeah,
we
no
should be
more
good.
long breaks.
No more long breaks. It's just the summer, and we have a special invitation to visit. So those are the dates. We talked about the celebration of self retreat. So I'm just showing up the dates again for a moment.
And we are super excited that many of you have reached out and are like, even those who are out of town, to be like, I'm coming. And
Yep.
we're just like, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be
To bring this culture into a container that we have planned.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's go. Let's just go.
next level. So picking right up where we left off, right? We'll just come right here to the common mistakes. This is an overview again. Common mistakes with the ideal model is chasing perfection, bypassing the inner work. As I mentioned, you're going to be faced with your subs.
Possibly, maybe, most likely.
Yep. Or idolizing others, right? Projecting an ideal model onto somebody, and that doesn't create the possibility for you to tune into what's authentic for you, right? Each of us are different. And so how do we apply, how do we skillfully apply the ideal model? And so Roberto Assagioli reminds us we must not shoot sparrows with cannons. And so
What does that mean?
let me just lower this for a second. Okay. So what this means is we must approach this work with great care, okay? Great discernment and also timing, right? What this means is introducing lofty, idealistic images too early in the process can be unhelpful and even overwhelming, okay? So I just really approach it with care. If we present a model of perfection before a person, right? If you present a model to yourself or tuning to a model before you have addressed core wounds or fragmented self-images, the results are going to be that you're going to end up disempowered, right? Transformation's not going to occur. And we really want to make sure that we're creating a positive loop, right, of transformation. And, perhaps you tune in, and as you do this work, maybe you've already done a lot of the integration work, so amazing. But if not, right, if there's still subpersonalities or still areas that need to be integrated, the invitation is to really give yourself the time to address those core woundings, right? Address the sabotage, address the subpersonalities. And so instead, what's ideal is to meet the ideal model where we're at right now, right? And what's being met, basically, you're going to meet yourself where you're at while still calling in who you're becoming, right? And keeping it very, very grounded in the reality of where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm. We also want to take a moment to just honor the perfection of where we are at right now. You know what I mean? It doesn't need it. Just like Claudia was sharing earlier, Claudia Nieves on her opening, like the awareness that she had until that moment was completely a different, beautiful awareness, but just different. So just honoring where we are right now and through the unfolding of what wants to just keep emerging through this entire process, you know? Not like, oh, it needs to be what this person's doing, like that guru, or like, oh, I need to be what that person over there, my neighbor's doing, or this person's business who already has a women's group. I need to just go, do my own or be like her, or, do exactly that. Like that, everybody has their own gifts, coming from what is right now, and the individual gift that is for each one of us. Just a little side note there.
Yep. Thank you, baby.
Yeah.
So the importance of timing and relevance. Who would like to read this slide?
Participation. Yay.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
The importance of timing and relevance. The ideal model should represent the next and most urgent step or stage. A specific quality or ability the person most needs in order to proceed with psychosynthesis.
Yep. Exactly. Thank you. Assagioli emphasized that before working with the ideal model, we must do substantial work around negative identification, right? And release those internalized false selves, those limiting beliefs, and outdated identity patterns, and which will be essentially taking a big step towards that in our next class. And we have, in many ways with our beliefs and all the work we've done thus far.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we're in this clearing press, and once we have cleared or begun the clearing space for the ideal model, then the ideal model becomes that powerful next step. Now, for some of you, that again could be a vision for what your life gets to be, but perhaps for some of you, it will be about strengthening a psychological function. And so you can really take this, and I'll go through it just in a moment, and I'll explain a little more about that. But just keep that in mind, that you want to focus on that next step, right? That urgent, very next step that's before you, ahead of your in your path. Now, This approach, again, as Ajol is always bringing that awareness to make sure that the model is not too abstract, that the model is not inflated, but that it's actually grounded, useful, and personally resonant, right? Which is what's going to allow that manifestation and that integration in your life. So for example, right, rather than imagining one's ultimate enlightened self, right, from the outset, perhaps a more relevant, more beneficial might be centering yourself or centering the model around embodying greater balance, right? Embodying inner peace, embodying compassionate leadership. So whatever serves that next step of the growth, of the stage of growth, focus on that, because then you'll be able to receive more of the benefits and the ideal model is going to be more effective. So there are two types of ideal models. Okay, we have the transpersonal or archetypal ideal model. So this basically represents the fully realized or the self-actualized human being. This is often linked to spiritual symbols or enlightenment figures such as Buddha, Christ, or the Divine Mother, right? So there is that type of model. And then we also have the specialized or the functional ideal models. And these ones are more focused on center or are more centered around cultivating specific psychological qualities, different strengths, different qualities that you're bringing forth, willpower. For example, I remember in last class for Eric, the word vitality came through as one of the qualities that he wanted to bring forth. So he could center his ideal model on that alone, vitality, and just being able to manifest and allow that to be embodied in his life. And so you could do that, and then once vitality is become a realized experience in his reality, then he could move on to another aspect. So ideally, you want to take a good look at yourself and see where you're at, in what areas you may be needing to develop a little more, and then use the ideal model to develop those qualities, right? Those aspects of yourself, so that maybe in the future, right? Because this ideal model is ever evolving, right? It's not like, oh, we do ideal model now we're done. No, right? You'll have the tools to be able to continue and develop models that align with your goals as you continue forward.
Yeah, and the ideal model isn't like a one and done, as we saw a few slides back. There's an ideal model of that which wants to emerge right now. What are the steps I want to take to create this ideal model that I need to take this next step, and then that gives way to yet another, part of this greater ideal model. But then right now it's about like resources and gathering information or finances, or really getting clear organizationally. Do I have the things that I need to track and automate and these different things with all the information coming? Each one of these different like bowls that go to the overall buffet are all ideal models, right? And then if we're approaching any of those ideal models from something identified or these limiting beliefs or what have you, it can create, a weak container, if you will, or a leak would be a better word, in that bowl, so that when we're trying to build other structures on top of what this next ideal model is, there could be some like kind of backtracking going back. And you can't get it wrong. We can't fuck it up. It's all part of the learning, but this is part of that process. So not to get too far up the mountain, like vitality would be great to even start with. Thank you for bringing that back, because we both love that. If it's vitality of like, how is my personal experience of life? Am I giving myself what I need? Am I practicing working out? Am I supplementing? Am I giving myself time in nature and in the sun and all these things to where I can be vital? Am I quieting the mind? Because the exhaustion comes from so many times we could be sitting still at a desk and feel completely exhausted at the end of the day. Is that aligned with anybody? Oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I didn't even lift a finger today. Oh, maybe all I did was lift my fingers today and I feel exhausted, right, Lisa? So it's like all of it, this whole being that comes into the space to look at vitality, if that's my principal ideal model moving forward, how do I create that in this bowl of vitality? And then once I have the vitality, you feel, oh, cool. Now I've got so much more that I can create from that I couldn't even see before because I was something less than vital or vital. You know what I mean? Whatever that word would be, the current present of vitality. I guess it is that.
Vital.
But- so well-being, whatever that might be.
Yep, exactly. And then ultimately, then once you've gone through those qualities, then you could tune into a transpersonal or archetypal ideal model, right? Once you have those ways of being in place that can support you. And the key is to match the model to your soul's yearning, right? Without imposing unrealistic ideals, without bypassing the inner work. And we've been doing a lot of different practices, tuning into the transpersonal, receiving, invoking the qualities, because there's a lot of listening, right? This is the key, and what gets me so excited. And the power of this is that the ideal model is not going to come from the ego. We're actually accessing the ideal model from the transpersonal.
Yeah.
So what does the transpersonal have in store for us? Like
the
what
collective
is meant
field.
to be for us aligned? And I'll give the example again of a Purple Ego tribe. That's exactly how all these come to be. This was not created from the mind because I didn't even know this was possible. And now here we are. So really excited for all of you, what that can open up or reinforce maybe what you might already know. Okay, moving along, the role of imagination. Who would like to read the slide?
Who's feeling imaginative? Lisa's got her hand up.
Me.
Yay.
Training training the imagination is one of the best ways towards a synthesis of different functions. And then below it says imagination, awakening motivated feelings and desires, grasp new insights and spiritual concepts, contemplate our connection to something greater.
Yes, so super excited because the role of imagination is central to what to accessing the ideal model. So I'm really excited that we will get to continue to practice this psychological function that I believe is so underrated in our culture.
And training the imagination, because there's a tendency sometimes for some individuals in society to imagine things that are a little stressful or full of maybe fears or something like that. There's also the imagination that's like this huge, well, I just want to be a billionaire like Trump. You know what I mean? Not like Trump, but he has billions of dollars. Maybe I shouldn't say that these days. A billionaire, I'll just leave it like that. So it's like the training would be, okay, my imagination, is it coming from this place of wholeness? Is it coming from a place of connecting? And the psychosynthesis, okay, there's the I am, I can observe the polarity of the fearful one and the courageous one. And what is the synthesis of those two together that opens up this space within the transpersonal that when Claudia mentioned removing the ego, if I'm coming from fearful or courageous one, I'm the hero. Both of those are loaded up with ego. When I come into the center and I can open up and meditate and go into these disidentification meditations, that which comes through is coming from a different place than a polarity.
Yeah.
So that's the training of the imagination,
Yep. And so for Assagioli, he considered imagination to be foundational to synthesis. Now, why is that? Because imagination has the unique power to operate on all the levels: physical, emotional, mental, and intuitive. So here's a huge key that we're sharing with you today that Assagioli provided, right? The role of imagination. And so as Lisa read, it allows us to awaken motivating feelings and desires. And this is one of the reasons why the ideal model is going to serve to activate your inner resources, also be able to grasp new insights, new ideas, new concepts that were just not in the contents of our mind. And also, which is the ultimate goal of psychosynthesis, is that connection to something greater, that ultimate synthesis with the universe and what's already at play.
Yeah, and even the word imagination, imagery, and that's what we're going to get into here in just a little bit, is like, what does that actually look like? And then what does it feel like? You know, how does it feel in the here and now? Mhm.
All right, who would like to read the next slide?
Sean.
We can't hear you, Sean.
Can't hear you, bro, even though you're unmuted. Must be the mic. Well, not mic,
Now.
microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, very good. All right. When we visualize an image of what we may realistically become, we awaken concentration and will. This creates a cycle of image, emotion, action.
Boom. Right? It's essentially, right, that process of manifestation, ultimately.
Yep.
And now we get to engage a new psychological function that perhaps we don't use, right? We don't tune in. If you do meditations, I mean, and visualizations, you do, right? But in this way, we're going to learn to just more consciously connect to that with the understanding that's actually supporting us in our process of manifestation, right?
Yeah, distinct from just imagining for the sake of imagining. And most adults these days don't really give ourselves time to imagination. But when we have an image and then the emotion, we put energy in motion behind this image, and then we take action in that. And also remembering our way of being. It should be like be, image, emotion, action, right? The way of being, the intentionality that we are tuning into to create this ideal model.
Yep.
You know, so it's like it's not necessarily a step by step. It's all happening at once, but there is the imagery without having a vision of where we're heading. Just going into, you know, creating motion and action. You know, there's could be a lot of misspent energies, and so when we can line up towards a specific goal, and then also the imagination. If you may or may not remember this, it was briefly mentioned, but remember the star diagram, psychological functions. Everybody present for that class? Okay, cool. So if we're in the thinking mind, I think we determined that a lot of Western culture resides in the problem solving, the thinking, the figuring it out, all the things. But they say that in the opposite side of that function, usually it's feeling is opposite from thinking, but also emotion kind of hangs out, is the doorway for the divine to be. So when we can give ourselves time to tune into the imagination, the doors of, oh my God, I don't use this psychological function. There's this whole new world of possibilities that are now there. And that's where also training the imagination as well, because there's so many possibilities. But what really wants to emerge, and it's not about creating, it's not about creating a new system of clean water, but it's the next step on the way there could be the ideal model.
Yep.
You know, because if we get too far of like, oh, I want to have this magical thing happen, that's great, but there's many different stepping stones, and every one of those stepping stones is an ideal model in and of itself on the way to that thing that wants to emerge. And as we get closer to that thing that wants to emerge, from those individual ideal models, new information may arise distinct from, this is where I'm going, and I'm taking the actions, and that's all that there is about it. But then there's this new information coming in every time, in every second, and every breath, that can get pushed to the side because there's such a focus of what I think I need to do. So it's like really just, I'm just anchoring it again over and over, kind of saying the same thing of like the ideal model is just the next step in many cases.
Yeah. And so as we engage in creative visualization, you will notice that the act, right, of that creative meditation, visualization, will essentially be forming and embodying the ideal model, right? And again, we're not picturing a fantasy, but through that connection with the ideal self, we're activating our will, right? We're focusing on energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we're mobilizing the inner resources, the inner forces required for real transformation.
Yeah, and gaining momentum.
Yep. And so the more, right? And so once we have momentum and we have energy, we have will activating, right? That strengthens the image. I was like, wow, I'm actually experiencing results.
Yeah, I've taken a step towards that. Oh my God, I feel so great. How many people on this call, I'm just going to ask this question, have taken a small step towards something that's really big and felt like, holy crap, that feels like such a relief? And how many people were resisting taking that next step? So like when we take that next small step, it's like that's the momentum we're talking about. Holy crap, I needed to do that spreadsheet or hire somebody to do my whatever and take that step. And it's like, oh wow, there's a space that opened up. There's a clearing that opened up. Yep.
Yep. And so, continuing on, connecting with that ideal model, right, and strengthening that image, because we're actually noticing, right, that there is action happening. In turn, it's going to increase our desire to continue tuning in with our ideal model, right? And that desire then fuels more action, right? And so that cycle of image, emotion, and then action allows us to gather our inner resources and direct them towards the integration of an authentic self.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can now see that manifestation is like, oh yeah, just your desires, just, tuning in. Like, that's not enough. There's a lot of layers to it. People are not necessarily been trained to understand that. Number one, you can have a very ideal, lofty, like how many of you, I'll ask you, how many of you have tuned into an ideal so beautiful and he has not come to be? And then you find yourself disempowered on the other side of it.
Yeah. But we're walking along with all
Right.
of the identifications and the self-limiting beliefs, and the universe is like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to give this to you, but you're trying to be right about how you have it.
Yep, exactly. And we
Or
just
and.
don't have,
And you're
we're
trying
not
to be-
educated, right? We don't have the information to understand how the process actually works. So
Yep.
thank you, Asa Jolie.
Thank you,
Thank
Asa Jolski.
you. All right, who would like to read the next slide?
Ideal model as a pathway to the authentic self. The ultimate goal is to become who you truly are, not who the world told you to be, not who your wounds shaped you into, but the radiant, integrated, creative self you came here to embody.
Boom.
Amen.
Aho. Mazel tov. L'chaim. All the things.
I'm getting chills. This is such powerful work. I mean, I'm getting chills. The next call is going to be just so powerful, right? Like finally able to release
Bring it all together.
all those false models that have been imposed. And create this space for us to be who we truly are. It's miraculous.
Who's feeling that right now? I sure as hell am. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
But it's also in the moments that feeling comes up, there can be like that, yes, we're charged up. This is why we're such a stand for like connections, like on these calls and buddy calls and keeping the conversation going, not to beat the buddy call to like a dead horse, Mike. It's not what it's all about. But because there's something about cultivating the energy. And, a lot of people that I know, or if not all of you on the call, go to different workshops or different gatherings or different things, and like the clarity and the, oh my God, I'm so good. And then right back into the groove of let's just keep you safe model. So there's something really beautiful about this particular slide, and especially that you delivered it in the way that you did, Mike, like the creative self you came here to embody and releasing who the world said that we're supposed to be, as a good boy or a good girl or, this or that or the other thing, and really just giving ourselves time to tune in to what that really wants to be.
Yep, exactly. And working with ideal models not only helps to clarify who you want to become. So now you have an image, you have a picture, you have connected to what it is that you want. But it also helps you to focus and to harmonize your entire personality around your center of authenticity.
Or also said, synthesize.
Yep.
The harmonize, the synthesize, it's interchangeable in this particular.
Exactly. So you'll have an image and then you'll have, the opportunity to harmonize all of your personality around it.
Yep.
All right, so there are two main forms of meditation.
Here we go.
The awareness meditation, which we have been doing over and over and over again, every call, right? Just regrounding and integrating. So that's essentially the centering the self through the disidentification and then the self-identification. I think we could say that you're all versed in that. And then we have the creative imagination, right? Which is where we're going to be utilizing visualization to develop psychological functions and to give form to your ideal model. Now, while awareness meditation wakes us to the self as presence and will, creative meditation gives us the tools to manifest that self into the personality, into action, into expression, and also meaningful participation in the world. So again, my psychosynthesis is very hands-on, and we're going to be moving from concept to reality, right? The idea is that you can actually manifest that self as an actualized experience in your being. Now, competing self-images and the power of visualization. One of the greatest challenges in the process is that your ideal model must compete with your existing self-images, right? The old patterns, the outdated roles, and the fragmented self-personalities.
The already existing choices that are running and playing out, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so repetition and visualization are essential, right? These inner structures, as I mentioned, may resist change. And you can probably expect it, right? Especially when you're trying to, bring something new, they will try to sabotage your vision, which is probably this. If you haven't been able to manifest something in your life that you've been calling in for so long, you will become acquainted with why, right? Those parts will show up. And perhaps are parts of you that you know very well, but you'll discover what is trying to sabotage you for having what you really, really want.
And the good news is now we all have tools to have conversations with those parts of ourselves as they come up and disidentify and ask them what they need and get back to the basics.
Yep.
Over and over and over again.
Exactly. So this is why repetition and visualization are essential.
Yep.
Right? So by holding the image of your ideal model consistently, you strengthen your focus, your concentration, and your commitment to your becoming.
Yeah. It's essentially, it's like planting a seed of an idea in an energetic way, like this golden seed into the fabric of reality. But then I'm just going to let that seed do its thing, go about my business, and still keep running the same stories and all that thing. But if I can plant that seed and focus on that seed and cultivate it and water it and notice that there's all these other seeds that I planted that I get to give attention to too. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. But this is the most important seed that I planted, and I can hold that like a candle flame, and keep just focusing on that candle flame and align my daily actions, thoughts, and behaviors toward that goal, if you will, that seed. And remain focused on it and hold myself accountable with compassion and grace and do the inner work of all the other voices and the things along the way, but bringing so much love and attention to that seed. I know myself, I planted seeds. I probably got acres and acres of corn growing in the backyard of things that I forgot that I planted, because did they really matter? What part of me planted them? Am I really committed to that? So this is where the work of really diving in and planting a seed that truly matters, and not a seed of like planting 1,000 acres, but just one seed.
Yep, exactly.
Just one
that
seed.
Next step. How good is it going to feel once you experiencing that next step, right? And so that's what we'll keep working on.
Yeah. I know me, I get excited when I plant a seed and all of a sudden a little sprout comes out. You're like, oh my God, look at the baby. And then it like turns into something. Oh my, and then every time I look at it, this is, we can do that with every aspect that we want to create.
Every little seed. And so as you work with the ideal model, right, you're gonna be creating, you're gonna be building a new energetic pattern within your psyche, right? One that eventually becomes your default mode of being, right? Where we are all, working towards
The embodiment.
Yep. And so working with ideal models is not merely about creating a better self, it's about aligning your soul's blueprint with your lived reality, right? So we've said it at the very beginning, and this is like, it takes courage, right? To become our authentic self, your authentic self, is the greatest journey that you will ever take. And the ideal model is one of the most powerful companions on that path.
Yeah.
Not about chasing perfection. It's about awakening what already lives within you.
Yep.
And giving it shape, giving it face, giving it presence in your life.
Yep.
And also, allowing to birth that, really let that seed come to be.
Exactly. My mom, do you mind, Mom, if I share about our text conversation about how do we honor our parents, our fathers, our mothers, and our ancestors?
Please do. Please
Yeah.
share.
So it's like, it's perfect timing, and I don't want to take a lot of time because we still have other things to cover, but like the true expression of why I am here and what calls to me inside the privacy of my own heart, distinct from anyone else, and living in that truth and well-being. Anybody who has children can say this. What do we want for our children? We want for them to live their greatest gift and be their perfect self out in the world, and all the other thoughts and then just fall away. So as we can tune into this type of work, we're honoring the generations past and the generations to come with all of everything that had ever came for this exact moment to even exist in this conversation right now, by harnessing what it is that our soul wants to birth forward.
Yep.
It's like the greatest gift that we can give. I don't need to be anything other than exactly who I am, who you are, who we are, and to party on with our peeps that align to that sort of thing, and be the demonstration for that out into the world. Party on, Garth. Yeah. So that was a great chat that my mom and I were kind of came to the answer. And I'm like, wow, what a beautiful thing. I'm like, what would you want from me? She's like, I just want you to be your most amazing version of yourself. I'm like, cool, me too. That's what I want for you. And that's what our parents want for us, and our grandparents and all that, and all the hard work that they did,
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that share.
Oh, Garth. Yeah.
So who would like
For
to read
allowing
that?
me to go on that little
Yeah,
tangent.
no, of course. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see that, all those connections. So in nearly all spiritual traditions, visualization has played a vital role in contemplative practices, right? From guided journeys to sacred imagery, the power of thought has long been known to shape in our inner and outer realities, right? So in self-development, especially in transpersonal psychology, the principle is often expressed as
Energy flow follows thought, or more precisely, energy follows imagination.
right? Boom, that's a new one. And so psychosynthesis is an energy psychology, and the creative meditation is one of the most potent tools for mastering and directing psychological energy, which is why there's so many closed eye process throughout, just in the framework itself, right?
Yeah.
So through that visualization, we generate the inner images that are imbued with specific qualities that we want to call forth: peace, strength, vitality, compassion, clarity, right? That help to harmonize and help to synthesize the personality. And so, we want to become, right? We want to allow the light of our soul to manifest in the world. And the creative meditation enables us to reshape our personality around the ideal model, right? Which is our blueprint, as I mentioned, of your authentic self. So through the practice of creative meditation, superconscious energies can flow into form, bringing new levels of wholeness and actualization.
Everybody loves wholeness.
Okay, who would like to read the next slide?
Caitlin Dodson.
I can read. The ideal model, a bridge between the self and the soul. Picture yourself vividly as being in possession of a strong will. See yourself walking with a firm, determined step, acting in every situation with decision, focused intention, and persistence. See yourself successfully resisting any attempt at intimidation or enticement. Visualize yourself as you will be when you have attained inner and outer mastery.
Boom. Right? He's like giving us the steps.
I mean,
and
come
I'll say it again. So just like it like kind of lands for us. Picture yourself vividly as being in possession of a strong will, which we were going to be activating the will in our next module. See yourself walking with a firm and determined step, right? Acting in every situation with decision, focused intention, and persistence. See yourself successfully resisting any attempt at intimidation or enticement, right? And essentially just being, pulled away, right, from your center. Visualize yourself as you will be when you have attained inner and outer mastery. So,
wow, yes.
Boom.
Please, for those of you who are buddies with those of you who are not on the call, like just screenshot this shit and send it on out, because to me, this encompasses so much of the necessary tools of moving forward, because there's so many things that can pull our focus and our attention off of that which is the most important to our inner heart. Am I right? Or maybe that's just my own reality and I'm creating this as a manifestation, but based on reading this, it seems to be hold water, you know what I mean? And I like to say, decision, choice, whatever works, but this is like really, really, really powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the level of intentionality, the level of presence, the level of commitment, the level of persistence that's going to take for us to manifest our ideal model. And so the ideal model becomes this profound focal point, right, that can serve both personal and transpersonal psychosynthesis, right, depending on the depth of your intention, what is it that you're needing to call forth. And so in personal psychosynthesis, the ideal model is often used as a guide for personal growth, for character development, or even worldly success, right? If you're calling forth that ideal life for yourself. And it is shaped by our values, by our needs, by our aspirations. And so the images that we select, that you will select, will evoke your inner potential, right? And will awaken your will and bring it into form different qualities that you wish to embody. Okay, who would like to read the next one?
I can read it. The ideal model. We already read that. When we shift into transpersonal psychosynthesis, the ideal model becomes archetypal, not from the personal unconscious, but the superconscious. These images do not speak to the rational mind, they speak directly to the soul.
Yeah, beautiful. So here you go again. You can see two applications of the ideal model, right? Within your personal psychosynthesis, which this is the recommendation, is that you work on your personal psychosynthesis first before tuning into the transpersonal psychosynthesis. And that knowing that when you tune into the transpersonal, right, that symbolic image will not be originating from your personal unconscious, but it's going to come in from the super conscious, right? So different symbols that may come in, and actually we'll be curious to hear what opens up for you as you tune in the meditation that we're going to lead you in just a few minutes, so that you have an opportunity to tune in and see what actually is coming through, what wants to come through. Now, know that these archetypal images don't speak to the rational mind, right? They speak directly to the soul. And so sometimes it's interesting to try to interpret them, right? And the invitation is not to try to interpret them from that rational mind perspective. Here's a little graphic of the ideal model, right? Coming from the superconscious. And then the ideal model is essentially sending, right?
Into the corazon.
Into the self. And so he, as a jolly, illustrates this idea of the bridge between the self and the soul in this diagram. So the soul actually, who would like to read this slide?
I'll read it. The soul activates an archetypal idea in the superconscious that That idea is then reflected down into the mind of the individual as an ideal model. In this way, the model becomes a magnet for soul-infused qualities, offering a path of transformation from the inside out.
From the inside out. So it's just a basic graphic of what we've been talking about, right? Of bringing in those qualities into the self.
And there's some schools of thought that say that all ideas are already in the field. It's just a matter of the attunement to, whoop, okay, there it just came through. Like it's, many people think about the same idea at once, and then it's like a mad rush to who's going to create the Band-Aid. But Band-Aid already existed. iPhone already existed, and then it just like whoosh, came through, and then it takes those steps on the idea model to manifest and do all the things to create that device into being, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Android users, you're not in the field.
Okay, so who would like to read the next slide?
Deborah Cooper.
I would love to. The ideal model, a bridge between the self and the soul, to remind us of the amazing title. The psychological machinery which transmutes energy is the symbol, Carl Jung.
Mhm.
There is a great variety of symbols with uplifting influence that can be made to serve this process, of which ideal human figures or models constitute an important class.
Yep.
Boo.
So boom, right? Symbols are super powerful and even more powerful than we know, right? As Jung reminds us, the psychological machinery which transmutes energy. I mean,
Yep.
what?
This is where affirmations, manifestations, the act of lighting incense, the act of having a special cup for your tea, like all these things are just these little things, right? But they're symbols. This is why I'm such a stickler for like a workspace that's like has certain symbologies and things that keep me tuned into that focus and committed action and decision. And sometimes, of course, I forget to drop my pen, but like this pen reminds me of something that I want to manifest. And I just surround myself with those different symbols as a machinery to get towards that which I want.
Yep. So do not underestimate the power of symbols.
Symbols.
And even when you don't understand, right? Even if you're tuning in and something's coming through from the transpersonal, right? Know that by just the mere action of tuning in with a symbol, there's already transmutation, there's already a shift happening.
Yeah, and also these symbols as they come through, this is a whole separate kind of like leaflet out of previous teachings from a very wise individual that hold these as sacred within ourselves. Until we have enough of these symbols to start to create, we're just picking up one piece of puzzle, right? There's one puzzle piece, but then we don't have that full puzzle until these other symbols start to come together. So just allow it its time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so a couple more slides. There's 4 stages to creative meditation, and you'll experience what those are today. Centering, ascension, meditation, and then the anchoring. And so this is actually going to support you, even if you already listen to meditation. So if you're would like to know how to properly experience or create creative meditations, you'll appreciate this process. So the first step, right, is centering. Just basically, we do this every time at the beginning of our calls. We enter that state of stillness where we harmonize our body, emotions, and mind through breath, through relaxation, through presence, right? And then we assume the loving observer. So that is the centering. That's the first step. And then symbolically in the creative meditation, we ascend the mountain, right? Because we're now consciously connecting to the superconscious. And so, this prepares that inner space for meditation and strengthens the channel between the personal self and the higher self, as we've seen in the egg diagram. Then the second stage is ascension, right? This is where we deepen the channel between the incarnated self and the transpersonal self. So hopefully, if any of you have been doing those transpersonal meditations, you've been strengthening that channel already. And so we begin in the heart center, visualize a radiant sun, right? Visualize it as a seed of unconditional love. And then we're resting so that we can create emotional coherence, right? Then we lift our attention up to the center of the brain, connecting to another sun, right? And then from that, we then connect to the sun in the transpersonal. You remember how Asajoli always used that sun as the symbol, right? The imagery that represented the self. Then the third step or stage is the meditation. This is where the creative visualization takes place. Now that you've been centered, you're attuned. This is where the ideal model becomes the focal point, right? And again, it can take many forms. It can be an image. It can be an image of yourself embodying higher quality. It can be a transpersonal quality, right? A symbol of, peace, serenity. It could be a symbolic figure. It could be an archetypal image that may show up.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a quality in action, like you can see yourself speaking with more clarity, holding presence, different things like that. And so as you're visualizing this image, you're infusing it with energy, intention, and feeling. And then the last step is anchoring. Right before closing, we must ground and release the energy that was gathered into the world. Right. And so retaining too much spiritual energy without expression can lead to overstimulation. Right. You can experience headaches, fatigue, agitation, emotional overwhelm.
Inflammation.
And so inflammation. So to prevent this is a step of anchoring and directing the energy outward. And so one way to do it is chanting Om, which will guide you through the meditation. And so to close, who would like to read this last slide?
Come on, Tess Nova, you have to read this one.
Yes, I do. The Ganga purifies when seen and touched, but the holy ones purify when merely remembered. The ideal model serves as an inner guidepost so that we, like a skillful captain, can reach our self-chosen destination safely.
Yep, beautiful. And look at that quote. The Ganga purifies when seen and
Ganga.
touched.
It's the
What did I say?
Ganga.
I'm sorry.
Genghis
Ganga. I'm
Khan, the
sorry,
Ganga. You know, it's
that
one's a
is
river, one's a
dishonoring.
warrior. It's like
The Ganga. But the holy ones purify when merely remember. I mean, how powerful it is, right? Just tuning in, Jesus Christ, the Buddha, we already can receive those energies. So that's the goal.
We're going to drop a little nugget here real quick. Before you go into these meditations and practices over the next 2 weeks, there's a really cool practice that comes from the Kalinatha yoga lineage. It's not to get into the whole Ganga practice, but there's a way to visualize your palms. Here, let me like stand for me. You're sitting in easy pose or what have you, and you visualize your palms going into the Ganga, the river, and the teachings would be that all waters of the earth or the Ganga, they all come from the same place. And you can pour that over your vessel to purify.
Yeah, the Ganga is a
Scooping
sacred.
it and pouring.
Sorry, Fraser asked.
She got excited like I do.
Yeah, it's a sacred river in India where people go in and purify themselves, and it has really very powerful healing energies.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, as Adam said, you can tune into those energies of the Ganga and purify yourself, even if you're not in
Yeah,
India.
it's all visualization. Yeah.
Okay, are there any questions? I think made it clear. But if you have any questions regarding the ideal model, I think that, yep, we're pretty good. So let's go ahead and have a meditation experience so you can tune in.
You guys ready?
I'm excited.
Anybody
What's
need
going
a-
to come through?
All right.
Yep.
Sweet.
All right, music.
Music.
Use the same.
Actually, I have a slightly different one from the same album. It's a very good one. You're going to love it.
From the same album?
Yes. Okay, cool. Trust you. Aren't we just the cutest? Caitlin's cracking up over there. All right, so I need to share my screen again.
It might stop.
You guys don't see it. I'm sharing just my audio, All right. Here we go.
Here we go. So allow yourself in this moment to get comfortable and to gently close your eyes whenever you're ready. Just going to allow everything has been shared to just be there. Just gently resting your hands on your legs. Breathing in deeply. And exhaling slowly and intentionally. Let's do that one more time. Breathing in deeply. And then exhale slowly and with a soft sigh. And now simply let go. Let your body and mind soften. Just allow your awareness to gently return home into your body, your breath, and your heart. Softening the muscles of your face and clenching your jaw. Let your shoulders drop. And begin to connect with the loving witness within you. The calm, observing self. So allow yourself to tune in. Becoming the loving observer. And now from this center space, envision yourself at the base of a majestic mountain. A symbol of your upward journey. This is your soul's ascent. And as you stand at the foot of this mountain, take a moment to affirm, I am ready to align with my highest self. And on your next breath, begin the inner climb. And as you're climbing, bring your attention to your heart center. And imagine a glowing sun, warm, golden, radiating love and serenity. And feel that light expanding. Feeling your chest, your arms, and your entire being. And as you continue to climb, shift your awareness to the center of your head. Imagining another sun. Radiant and clear. This is the seat of your wisdom and insight. Tuning in, activating the third eye. So just use your imagination to see this fully, to activate this within your being. And next, on your next breath, lift your awareness above your head. And now visualize a brilliant sphere of white gold light. This is the realm of your higher self, the soul. And now sense the connection forming. Sense a living bridge between your incarnated self and the luminous presence above. Just keep breathing and allow this divine energy to bathe you completely.
Now, from this sacred space, gently call in your ideal model. The most true, the most beautiful, the most empowered version of yourself. Visualize this version of you standing tall, radiant, and fully alive. What qualities does your ideal self embody? The quality of peace, quality of strength, grace, wisdom, clarity. Feel how they walk, how they speak, and how they make decisions. Let this imagery come fully to life. Feel their energy moving through you. Now visualize a white lotus blooming in your heart. With every breath, it opens. And as it opens, it receives the light of the soul. And let this lotus hold the essence of your ideal model. A container for your highest potential. And stay here for a few moments and breathe with your ideal self. And as you breathe, feel the merging not as something outside of you, but as the deeper you coming home. Now we've come to the time to ground this energy into your life. Imagine a ray of light from your heart moving outward into your relationships, into your work, into your purpose. See yourself moving through your day from this higher frequency. As you anchor this energy, we will chant the sacred syllable Om 3 times together, silently or aloud. And take a deep breath in. Inhale, feel the energy radiate outward on the next. Sending light into your life, inhale, and anchoring the transformation. Take a deep breath in. Feel your body, feel your breath, feel your presence. Feel the change. Carry the seeds of your ideal self within you. And when you're ready, no rush, bring your awareness back into the room, wiggling your fingers and your toes, and gently, 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 slowly, slowly, slowly begin to open your eyes, welcoming yourself back.
So beautiful. And let this practice be a reminder that you already hold the blueprint, you already hold the light. And now you choose to leave it. Welcome back.
Welcome back. You look so ideal.
Would love to take just a couple of shares before we close our call today. What came through for you? How was that experience of tuning into your ideal model for the very first time?
tingly.
I'd like to share out you guys. That was astral for me. That was bigger than 5'4". Yeah, yeah, in a grounded, beautiful way. Uh, to add words would diminish.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you. And we will provide this recording so that you can continue to tune in. Trust that whatever showed up for you today is exactly what your higher self had in store for you. In case, whatever came through. But that you will have the opportunity, as I mentioned, repetition is going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you can maybe incorporate it as part of your morning practice as well. So you can keep listening in.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'll go.
Yes.
What I mean by tingly is literally it felt like the cells in my body were moving. Like all over my hands, my feet, my legs. Like it was like a vibration. Tingly.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yep. Beautiful. You were welcoming in the transpersonal energies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Into your system. And also remembering we're creating that bridge and strengthening that bridge through the continuous connection.
Yep.
And so I imagine that as you do this more and more clear images may come through.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, Fraser, to hear you say that, because sometimes it starts from, receiving healing in our body,
Mm-hmm.
oxygenation of the cells, harmonizing frequencies, all the things, and then it'll continue to build and unlock. And sometimes imagery can come through. Sometimes it's all feeling. Sometimes it's just nothingness. Sometimes we fall asleep. It's perfect.
Yep. Did anybody receive a specific image or
Or a guide or anything came in?
would love to hear? Whatever was for you. So deep.
No, for me, it felt very expansive.
Mhm.
Felt like as I was climbing the mountain, I was sort of enveloping it at the same time.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Claudia says it was astral for me too. Lisa says, yes, so deep.
So deep.
And I'm curious. I'm really curious. Sorry, Lisa, I jumped interrupted, but I'm curious to see what, right once we've worked through our false models, if something would shift, right? I'm curious to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's shift for next class.
Yes, Lisa?
Yeah, go ahead, sister.
I guess I was just gonna say something similar to that. In that is, I feel like the next time I sit with that meditation, it will be even more visual for me.
Mhm.
This time it was like more deep and like there was some, other things going on in the mind and, trying to, be focused but it like took me deep, but the visualization part wasn't vivid for me yet. But I feel like the next time, like I'll have more of a sense of, how I can be with it in a more profound way.
Yeah, powerful. And you made a great point, right? If there's the mind in the way, the channel is not going to open up as clear to receive those images. And so,
Or the channel illuminates that which is in the way,
Mhm.
So all these symbols come up and it's like, oh, look at that.
Mm.
Like, so, the kind of like frequency that's right under the surface there, Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Anybody else? We'd love to hear from everybody, actually, even if you want to just type it in the chat.
Yeah.
And then we'll close the call.
Close the call. Closing time. Meow, 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 meow.
And again, we know we're in the middle of the day. It's Monday, right? So it's the conditions for that super deep connection might not be there. But that's why we're going to be providing the meditation so that you can do it on your own.
Yep, before bed, when you wake up.
Or in the morning, wherever.
Yeah.
I can go real quick.
Sure.
I it being in the middle of the day kind of helped. Like I do feel kind of tired, so it was like an easy kind of drop in. And I just think it's funny because I just got invited to go to Colorado. So as soon as you're like standing at the base of a mountain, like you're doing that in a couple weeks. So this
Mm,
I yeah, definitely like could feel it lining up through my body and kind of pulsing and like Fraser was saying, tingly, you know.
mhm.
Nice.
Yay, mountains. We're heading to the mountains.
Yes, the mountains.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome, thank
Mike,
you.
there's actually I heard this actually through a somebody who holds space with certain plants, that there are journeys when sometimes people fall asleep and they celebrate that in the shamanic tradition. Like that's where some really deep healing, it's exactly what our body needs. Sometimes even just oxygenating the brain and taking those breaths in like that and just being in that frequency can, woof, I need some sleep right now, you know what I mean? Get into regulation, or maybe it's it feels like sleep, but it's actually the central nervous system relaxing. It can be a lot of different aspects to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So trusting the process, right? Trusting what shows up. Exactly what was needed. But but again, right, in order for you to receive your more clarity in your ideal model, it is going to take repetition and tuning back in.
And pro tip, if you are finding yourself on a regular kind of falling asleep or dozing off in meditation, straight spine, stack the vertebrae. It actually keeps us awake. Engage the core, stack the vertebrae, shoulders up, back and around, and find a space in like a meditation seat. Even if we lean back or something like that, it can like, the energy can go all over, so we can hold ourselves in that upward discipline, especially for us men, Shiva-like sitting, and also to focus if we're sitting in cross-legged pose or easy pose, our sits muscles and our knees as like a pyramid or a triangle. So you're like envisioning a triangle, and then you have this upward light. There's a way to open up channels in that way as well. Again, none of that is psychosynthesis, but just some different practices there.
Awesome. Thank you for those tips.
Yeah, pro tips, pro
and then
tips.
to close, next class, July 7th, you're going to need 7 blank sheets of paper. 7, and I'll again repost it. You're going to need some drawing tools. You can have markers, you can have color pencils, whatever you feel most comfortable with, and have your journal with you. So those are going to be the tools that you will need for next call.
Yep, and as mentioned, we will put some different things into the chat as far as there's going to be this meditation, but then there's some other prompts that are still yet to come through fully to be able to work with over this next period of 2 weeks. And you also get to enjoy a long weekend next weekend, or 3 weekend, whatever that is, for the 4th of July. So that's on a Friday, so yay.
Yep.
Little summertime celebration. You get to celebrate Fraser's possibly first 4th of July.
It is.
Come over for some hot dogs, my man. Woo-woo.
Amazing. So we're going to stop the recording. I hope you all enjoy those who are watching the replay. We love you. We miss you. And we will